Good morning, friends. In today's Sunday class, I welcome you all. We are going to study into the BOENNIGHAUSEN'S therapeutic pocket books. And before I start this lecture, I will have to tell you that Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN is regarded as the father of repertory because he gave you the basic plan for a structure of the repertory, how it should be. And still today, we find that almost all the repertory that is being, the new repertory that are coming, they have not changed the plan. Rather, they have only incorporated or based their things on the two basic repertories, that is Kentian repertory and Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN'S. Dr. Kent also followed the BOENNIGHAUSEN'S principle to many extent, but where he has also extended or included the particular symptoms. So let us start with the basic and most universal repertory, acclaimed to be the best and the source book of the all repertory, and that is regarded as the therapeutic pocket books. By the name, you can see that it is therapeutic pocket books. Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN was very much aware that in the clinic, when at the bedside of the patients, you cannot sit with a voluminous book, large books with the patients. So you must have a handy books, a calculator type of the book which can help you as a calculator that we are doing for our mathematical calculation in day-to-day life with a calculator. So that type of the feelings was there with Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN, and for that he constructed a very small and precise repertory, and it became very popular with very short period of the time, and still it is being followed by all. So let us start this lecture with sharing the PPT. So it is the topic is the introductions to the therapeutic pocket books. Now, this therapeutic pocket books, it is a combination of his four books, which is he had Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN had written earlier. That is repertory of the antispheric medicines and repertory of the medicines which are not antispheric medicines. The two repertory were very primitive repertory, which was published in 1832 and 1835, and later on, in 1836 he published Kinship of the Homeopathic Medicine, and all the three masterpieces combined to form the therapeutic. So this is the combined form of his previous repertory, where you can say the concise form or summarized form or the unified form of all the things that he has written earlier. It was originally written in the German language, which were first time translated into English by a homeopathic physician. Then it is controversial that who translated it, yet the many people came up to translate, but who was the first one, it is still, there is a confusion. A short time afterward, Hempel also translated these books. The literature was handled by Oki, C.M. Boger, and T.F. Allen, and lastly edited by H.A. Robert and N.E. C. Wilson. After his death, T.F. Allen added Side of the Body. New chapter was added in 1835 to the text. And T.F. Allen made a lot of addition and deletions. He added the side of the body and 120 remedies and deleted 4 remedies. So altogether in the T.F. Allen editions, you will find there are 342 medicines. This book is known as T.F. BOENNIGHAUSEN'S Therapeutic Pocket Book because he has left more lasting impressions upon his book. Now, this controversy is there whether the repertory therapeutic pocket books which we are using today it is the original one of Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN'S or not. I say the additions even after the death is a continued process and improvement process. And Dr. T.F. Allen has made an improvement by adding and substituting more medicines. And today, what we find, we don't have only 342 medicines, there are the medicines, and there are the chances that all these medicines has to be included in the therapeutic pocket books that we see that as a bricks taken from the therapeutic pocket books are being expanded in the latter repertory like synthesis repertory and complete repertory of complete repertory. So it is not now this addition has stopped because this repertory finds to be of little use in place of the new replacement by the new repertory which is coming up. But they have the basic background of therapeutic pocket books and Keynesian repertory. It is based on the grouping of symptoms of the Henneman teaching. And this grouping of the symptoms was basically followed the doctrine of concomitance and doctrine of generalizations and doctrine of analogy. These three doctrines of Dr. Henneman was very important. Concomitant. Why concomitant? We have to think why concomitant. Two symptoms existing at the different places and at the same time which has got no continuity. Can you see that? Can you think that there is no continuity? At the vital plane, we all are one and every part is one. So concomitant reflects the characteristics value of the symptom. Then generalizations. Whatever which is there in one part, it can be observed at the other part of the body also. So this is generalizations, and taking too many symptoms, and instead of taking too many symptoms, it will be wiseful to use only one which covers all. Suppose you have pain in the head, you have a pain in the body, you have the pain in the leg, you have the pain in the different regions, and all have the same modality. So it is better to take only one modality based on the modality, and that will represent all the parts of the body. So this is the generalization thing. And doctrine of analogy. This is another important contribution of Dr. Henneman and followed by Dr. BOENNIGHAUSEN. Analogy means what is with reference to the another. Suppose you have fever during the night and sometimes there is a pain during the night. Pain and during the night becomes the analogical relationship between the fever and the pain, and they represent the same meaning, because pain and fever, they are the expressions, and the expressions may be variable, but their presentations is similar. So variable in expressions, but similarity in presentations is important for understanding the theory of analogy. And what is doctrine of analogy? Symptoms which exist in a complete state in some part of the body, part of given case, could be really completed by observing the condition of the part of the other given case. Now, this is another aspect of the analogy that that is given. Now, when you are taking a case history, you will at many a place you don't find the symptoms is complete. Location, sensation, modalities, and concomitant. In all the symptoms, you don't find all the four things available. In some symptoms, you get only the location. In some symptoms, one or two modality, but no sensation. But to complete the symptoms, the theory of analogy was utilized. Now, for example, it was not possible for questioning a patient to decide what aggravated or ameliorated particular symptoms of the case. The patient could readily express a condition of amelioration of some other symptom. So that other symptoms become the ameliorations for the symptoms that is under consideration. So in this condition, but reason covered that conditions of aggravations or ameliorations are not confined to this or that particular, but that is like a red thread in the courage of the British Navy. They apply to all the symptoms of the case. Now, totality of symptoms and its corresponding similimum, which the homeopathic prescribers seek, are both based on the doctrine of analogy. It is in reality, patient is not expressing many symptoms, but only part of a few complete symptoms, which the examiner should bring together and complete. Now, when you are taking a case and what you expect from the patient, that he will talk in a completeness? No, he will never talk in a completeness. He will always speak what he has got in the mind. So on the basis of his mental impressions, you have to look into the other aspects of the life and complete the symptoms. So Bergson so designed his pocket of the book that it will enable the physicians to bring the symptoms together and complete one part of the by the another. So this construction is based on very precise pocket book size book it is only, and it is aimed at completing the symptoms by using the different chapters and combining them together so that you can get the complete symptoms, one complete symptom. So perceptible symptoms of the disease. The perceptible symptoms of the disease are broken and scattered to the different part of the patient organ in much the same way the symptoms are dispersed in ordinary repertory. Now, in this repertory, you will find that one symptom which has got the location, it has been placed on the location chapter. The sensation is placed on the sensation chapter, and modality like the aggravations and ameliorations in another chapter. Now, to complete the symptom, you have to look into the location part, modality part, and sensation part, and this way, and this can be utilized. This formula, it is like a formula that you can utilize for the other symptoms also. The scattered parts must be found and brought together in harmonious relation according to a typical form. Bornighausen proceeded up to the Hahnemann theory that it is the patient who is sick, not his head, not his eye, not his heart. Every symptoms that refer a part may be predicted as the whole man. Now, there are the two symptoms like primary symptoms and the secondary symptoms. The symptoms of the metramedica, like symptoms appearing in sickness, may be reduced to certain fundamental forms corresponding to the general and general species of biological science or the general and particular logic. These Bornighausen called the primary and secondary symptoms. These are the element of the symptomatology. So primary symptoms, the symptoms in general, and the symptoms that is experienced. So these two things we have to keep in mind, and in like manner each particular symptoms, primary or secondary, may be reduced to its element of the location and sensation and modality. Now, the philosophical background. In constructing his therapeutic pocket books, Bornighausen based his grouping of symptoms on Hahnemann's teaching that the physician must prescribe sum total. According to the Bornighausen and Dr. Hahnemann, the totality is not only the sum total, it is not the quantity, but it is qualitative. But it was fact grand symptoms, the symptoms of the patient, the grand symptoms. It has got the three factors must be present: location, the part of organ, tissue involved or in the disease process; sensation, the kind of pain; sensational function or organic changes characterizing the morbid process; and third is condition of aggravations or ameliorations of the symptoms, the circumstances causing exciting, increasing or decreasing of the suffering. Now, wrap of the fabric. Now, this term was used in the express the leading symptoms of the chronic disease. Now, in each chronic disease, you will find there is the patient comes with a problem, and that through that symptoms you go into the other symptoms also. When the patient comes to you with one complaining symptom, you don't have to look only those. So that is called the umbrella, the fabric, the cover part. So patient tells you the outer part of the problem, and you have to, on that basis, you can go into the inner part of the problem. So that this term was used, wrap of the fabric. These appear in every chronic cases and often to a marked degree. These are always leading symptoms, and these may be defined as those symptoms for which there is clear pathological foundations, or the symptoms that are most prominent and clearly recognizable, or the symptoms which first attract the attention of the patient or the physicians, which which causes the most sufferings, or which indicate definitely a state of the nature, state and nature of the morbid process. So this is very important, which is drawing your attention, which is attracting your mind. This is important. The symptoms which is recognizable, that you can recognize, they become the primary symptoms, and they become the leading symptoms. And on that basis, you go into the other part of the symptoms. So this is called the wrap of the fabrics. In the leading symptoms alone, there is nothing particularly characteristic from the standpoint of. Now, see what happens. The patient comes to you, doctor, I have the migraine, I have the pain, I have the pain. But when you ask about the modality, you don't get the modality. So what to do now? What to do? You have to go, and this is called the wrapping symptoms. The wrap of the fabric symptoms. Migraine is the wrap of the fabric symptoms. And on that basis, you have to go into the details, and you see the other symptoms also, and you find a modality for this migraine also, and sensation for this migraine also. So, example, we have so many remedies having cerebral congestions, inflamed liver, inflamed lungs, etc. Any of these may become a leading symptom, yet the inflammation of any organ is not a fact of great value in leading the prescriber to the stimulum. Emphasize the value of complete symptoms. Now, this is the beauty of Dr. Bonninghausen, that his complete is based on completeness of the symptoms, that is location, sensation, and conditions. But he added the fourth requirement, that is equally imperative to the first three. This was the concomitant symptoms, and the repertory is founded on the doctrine of the concomitant symptoms. So, along with the location, sensation, and modality, he added the fourth dimension of the symptoms, that is concomitant, because this is going to individualize. This is going to give you the characteristics value of the symptoms, and it will be easier for you to draw the characteristic symptoms based on finding out all the three factors. The word concomitant means existing or occurring together, the attendant. In nearby every case, we find one or more concomitant symptoms, and these symptoms seemingly no relation to the leading symptoms from the standpoint of the theoretical pathology. They are the symptoms which find no reason for their existence in the individual. We might also term them as unreasonable attendants. These symptoms are important in finding out the stimulum because they exist at the same time in the same patient. So this is timing is very important for finding out the concomitant. Now another word that I see in the latest repertory being used is accompanied by. Headache accompanied by the urinations, rapid urinations. Now what is the relationship that increased urinations and headache pain? No reality. But they are happening at the same time. This is the time modality which is important, and that's why it draws your attention. And when you come to this rubric, you will find that there is a very few remedies, and you can arrive at the conclusion that this medicine will be used. So these symptoms are important in finding out the symptoms because they exist in the same time. The noun means attendant circumstances. One could prescribe successfully upon the symptoms by following the plan laid down by the pocket books, provided that one symptom could be complete. At least one symptom has to be complete. The concomitant symptoms to the totality, what the conditions of aggravations or ameliorations is to the single symptom. The foundation of Bonninghausen therapeutic basis is the doctrine of concomitant. Now, construction of the repertory. One of the outstanding features of Bonninghausen's repertory construction is that he embodied the variation in size of type signifies the varying importance of symptoms rubrics to the various drugs listed. Now, In Allen's editions, we find 5 types. The capital letters that we give the 5 marks, bold spaces that we give the 4 marks, italics the 3 marks, and Roman the 2 marks, and Roman in parentheses is the 1 mark. The 5th place of the last all contains doubtful remedy, which requires critical study and which occurs most seldom. Now, these are the critical. That means why it is critical? Because it has been observed in some of the proverbs, and in rarely they find, but they are there. So you cannot ignore them. This is recognizing the presence of the concomitant symptom. So now the plan of the report is that it has to be like elastic. That means you can use in every type of the case. While constructing the repertory, the plan must be elastic enough to allow the separated part of the remedy or the symptoms to be brought together in such form as would correspond to any group of symptoms that might arise in time. The symptoms should be separated in such a manner that it do not destroy the individuality nor restrict the integrity. Now, Bonnighausen is known as the sage of the Munster was the sage. He conveys the figure of the great, all-inclusive symptoms totality made of the cardinal points of location, sensation, conditions of aggravation and amelioration, and concomitant, under which all the symptoms of Mitra Medica and all the symptoms of disease as we should be covered. An anonymous person made this book to the English first translation. Now, as I told you in the beginning also, the English translation, who translated it, it is not known. But this work contains so many typographical errors and obsolete phrasing. Then the translation was done by Hempel, and these early editions divided into the 7 parts. The other translations by Oki and Boger, PFLN, etc. PFLN has left more lasting impression upon the pocket books because it was he who added many of the eye symptoms and combined Bonnighausen's therapeutic repertory to the side of the body with the original pocket books. Now, the 7 parts in the early editions, that is the mind and intellect, first part. Second is part of the body and organs. Third is the sensation and complaints, that it includes in general of glands, of bone, of skin. Then fourth is the sleep and dreams, and fifth is the fever. And fever contains the circulation of blood, cold state, coldness, heat, perspiration, compound figure, concomitant complaint. And sixth is the alteration of the state of the health, aggravations according to the time, aggravations according to the situations and circumstances, and ameliorations to position and the last chapter is relationship of the remedy. Now, what about the mind and intellect? There are few rubrics under this section, which has been criticized by many competent homeopaths. Bonnighausen based his work on the value of concomitant, and he never wanted to reflect the picture through the mental, and his stand was to show the totality through 4 square foundations, and mental symptoms were deliberately neglected. So, why he neglected the mental symptom? It is not that he had neglected. He said that you have to come through the reality, the fabrics, the area which is visible. It is very important. The area, the things which is, you have to believe what you see. But many of the things in the mind, we cannot see, and if you don't have the relationship. So you can keep the mind only for the differentiation part. So this was the important, because there was no clarity, and still today we find there is very little clarity about the mental symptoms, and you are always can remain confused while going through the mental area of that, because psychological understanding is not complete. Still today, in the general psychology and also in the homeopathic arena, the psychological aspects are still the new in the beginning stage, and it needs many more elaborations to get the complete understanding about the psychology. So there are only 18 rubrics in the mind and sections, and 18 rubrics in intellect, and 17 rubrics in the section of aggravations under the rubrics emotional excitement. Now, next is important is the concept of the whole man, placing the balance of the emphasis on the value of concomitant symptoms and modality. It is not his intention to reflect the picture of the whole man through his mental reactions. It was his stand that the solid base of 4 square foundation was the only method of securing the totality of the symptoms. Now, parts of the body. Now, the next chapter is parts of the body based on the anatomical schema used by the Hemingway. And this part runs from the page 24 to 142. Now, it has got the construction like this: internal head, external head, and side of the head. Eye, various locations of the eye, and then region. Face, the objective symptoms observed in the face and location of sensation. Abdomen, location, flatulence, and stool. Urinary organ, urine. Sexual organ, menstruation, and chorea. Respiration, it includes the cough, expectoration, and air passages, especially. Location and voice. Under these chapters devoted to the part of the body and organ, we find few aggravations and rubrics related to the senses. So within this location part, there are some rubrics of the aggravations is also included. Now, sensation and complaints. Allen's edition put the name of sensation and complaints. In the earlier edition, the sensation was heading was only sensation. So, in the BOENNINGHAUSEN'S therapeutic book, the original book, you find that chapter as sensation, but T.F. Allen made it sensation and complaints, and it contains 3 types of the rubric: subjective symptoms, complaints, that is condition, and objective symptoms, and also the few locations. So, what I can see, some aggravations are there in the locations, but in the sensation, there are some locations also. So there are intermingling of the rubrics is also there, which may be taken as a drawback, but because of the limitations that is to bring understanding, we have to bear with it. Now, objective symptoms: blackness, externally carpology, clumsiness, cracking of joints, cyanosis, sleep and dreams. And this section covers symptoms like yawning, sleepiness, sleeplessness, and position in sleep and the dream. Now, next chapter is 7. There are 7 subsections in this subsection in this chapter. In the old edition, there were 7 subsections in this book. In this edition, of subset has been removed, but the same general outline of followed with a single exception which will be noticed. Now, the original outline is circulation of blood, cold stages, coldness, heat, perspiration, compound fevers, and concomitant of fevers. Then fever chapter, the first division has anemia, congestion, objective and subjective symptoms of blood vessels and pulses. Second division has, it was formerly known as the cold stage, is what we term the chilly stage. The rubrics are modifications of the chilliness. And third and fourth are division of reserved in Allen's edition. Now, fever, it includes the circulation, chilliness, general, heat, coldness in general, with shivering and sweat in the general. Now, rubrics devoted to the perspiration. The rubrics devoted to the perspiration follow in the order of modern order with their modification, then the rubrics dealing with the compound fever. So it is also included in the fever chapter. Now, 7th section is the concomitant. That is the old 7th section of the concomitant. Complaints are scattered more or less through the part. Thus, we find heat is associated with the symptom, sweat associated with the symptom, and before fever, during fever, or after fever are mentioned. Then aggravations and ameliorations, alteration in the health of the health, aggravations according to the time, aggravations according to the situations and circumstances, and ameliorations by position and circumstances. And Allen has removed the heading of the subsections, and he has left the aggravations and ameliorations. Then these sections, aggravations cover number of conditions. The conditions devoted to ameliorations is comparatively small, which are usually not reported by the patient. Then LF detected the ameliorations which are suggested by Bonnighausen's and put them in under the contrary state. Thus, the rubric like ameliorated by heat has been presented as cold by aggravated by cold, and it was so opposite. The meaning of the opposite was stated, and it was Allen's idea to make the book even more less cumbersome. Now, next chapter is relationship of the medicine remedy. The work of relationship was published in 1836. In the earlier edition, the chapter was called Concordance of Remedy, but Allen comprehended the title as Relationship of Remedy in Therapeutic Pocket Book. This has become the masterpiece for majority of the homeopathic physicians. Now, arrangement of the chapter of the remedy. The chapter relationship is divided into sections. Each section being devoted to the remedy in alphabetical order. And each of these remedy sections is divided into the rubrics, as all are general sections in the book. But in this chapter, we find the rubrics are not particularized as symptoms, but are generalized symptoms. This is divided into 12 sections which correspond to the materia medica: mind, locality, sensation, glands, bone, skin, slips and dreams, blood circulation and fever, aggravations, time, circumstances, other remedy, antidote, and injuries. Now, correspondence of chapter. Now, we find that each rubric in this chapter of the book correspond to the general sections heading of the first part of the book. To this added 1, 2, or 3 additional rubrics. The important one is the to other remedy, and other the general relationship of remedy, the other than the one heading this particular section of the chapter relationship to the remedy heading to this particular section. This rubrics other remedies cover all the those symptoms which do not fall into such regular groups like mind, location, and modality. The other two rubrics, antidote and injurious, are easily comprehended. So, understanding and making a hypothesis. These are the facts that is important. So, this is the basic plan of therapeutic pocket books, and I hope you have gone through it. And I thank you very much for your patience listening, and I hope that you can get a better understanding of this. So thank you very much. Yes, so I have completed my topic on this. In next lecture, I will try to give you the practical aspect of using through the cases that were being portrayed by some of the stalwarts in the past, so that you can better feel about the how to use this book. This is the ground plan, a structural plan that I have spoken today. In our next lecture, we will try to give you the practical aspect by through the cases referred to. So this is nice. Dr. Basant Jivanji, I am happy that you made a comment that it is fine, but discussion should be done. Yes, discussion has to be done, but because of the structure of this website, we cannot have the vocal discussion. So you can write a questions if you need. If you want to have any questions, you can write now so that I can reply with the voice also. I can reply in the voice, but you have to write on the chat box. If any questions is there, you can write it on the chat box. It is good. It is good that we have mentioned it here. I'm waiting for the questions. I'm waiting for the questions. I don't see any questions now. So we cannot wait for a longer period. I hope you can have, if you have a questions, you can make a discussion through the uh, through our WhatsApp call or WhatsApp message, or through the email message on my email, that is risdth@gmail.com, or on the WhatsApp number 943102062. So I think Dr. Basanti is satisfied, and he say okay. So now it is time to conclude the session, and we will come again with the practical aspect. I will show you the case history and how we have referred writing. Yes. Yes, Dr. Basanti, you can call me directly when you have the time, but not now, because after I finish the lecture, I can make a call. Okay. So thank you all for thanking me, and also thank you for you. So I conclude the session now, and with Dr. Basant, what you are waiting for? Nine four three one zero 20622. I am writing it on the chat box. 94310200622. So you can see that you can see the chat box, and you can see the chat box. Yeah, it is 94310200622, or you can write me on my email ID risdth@gmail.com. I think the things that I have given you earlier, this is not correct. This email ID is correct. risdth@gmail.com. Just all in lower letter. All in lower letter. So may I now close? So I can close the session now. Thank you for your nice interactions through the writings, and in next class you can keep yourself ready to write the questions. Thank you very much.